Today I've got Rickey Crook, who is a good friend, who is actually son-in-law of Larry Swalford, a good friend of mine. And Rickey has been an event planner, and he has met some of the most famous people. You just wouldn't believe it. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion today. In Alabama?
Yeah.
Were you from Alabama?
I grew up in Geneva, Alabama, which is down on the Florida line.
Oh, close to Biloxi?
Well, no, near Dothan.
Dothan.
The southeast corner. 75 miles due north of Panama City. Mm. So before the internet, we used to drive down to Panama City to find a place to stay for spring break. You just drove down. You just got in the car and drove down there. It's an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half.
Right between here and Knoxville.
Yeah. So we'd drive down there and book a room for a week, be home by dark, and then we'd go back spring break, that kind of thing. So
you were planning events then.
Oh, I was planning events probably in high school. I really started getting involved in. Well, I was always in student council at high school. My junior prom, I didn't really want to. I didn't want to get a date. So I was the guy that met the band when they showed up and made sure they had everything they needed and did all of that. My senior prom, I did have a date, so I got a little better at it. And then my first year of junior college at Enterprise State Junior College, I helped put on a Mary McGregor concert. Mary McGregor had a hit song about that time called Torn Between Two Lovers. And so...
how does that song go?
You're asking me to sing.
I know who you're talking about. They were kind of a one-hit.
Yeah, I would say she was a one-hit wonder. And a guy came with her named Gene Cotton, and Gene Cotton is from Murfreesboro. And I think Gene still plays a little bit around, but he lasted a bit longer than she did. So, but I had been working in a hospital 10th, 11th, and 12th grades in high school, and then junior college a couple of years, and then went to UAB for 2, and then wound up in North Alabama, and eventually Chattanooga, and eventually Cleveland Community. I worked there for about 10 years.
Who was in charge over there when you were there?
Oh gosh, everybody. It changed.
My mother worked there for years. Juanita Burris, did you know her?
I don't know if I remember her.
She was in administration.
I tried to stay out of there. So
my wife worked there in the cafeteria.
Okay. I worked 4 p.m. till midnight, so I didn't see a lot of people.
Had you been to Cleveland before?
Not. I'd been up here, obviously dating Pam during all of that time, but I had not been to Bradley. I was just looking for a part-time job that with some benefits that would allow me to start this business and get it going, and that's kind of what that did. Had health insurance and that sort of thing. So, but luckily, I had a good boss that would, if I needed to come in a little bit late, they would stay over and help me out that way. But eventually, the scales kind of got out of balance, and I was able to give that up. And I think the hospital sold right after that. So it sold before that, but combined with Bradley to become Tenova. So, but still lots of friends from there. Enjoyed working there. Got to see a lot of stuff. Had seen a lot of stuff. You know, training at UAB, you see a little bit of everything. So then worked down in Bridgeport, Alabama, was my first job out of college. And that was on what they call Blood Alley, Highway 72. So a lot of wrecks and trauma and surgery and stuff like that.
I wonder why so many wrecks on that highway.
I wonder why there's a lot of wrecks anywhere, but there are.
But why there?
Just very narrow. Not a lot of shoulder on the road.
They have a lot of like boiled peanut stands and stuff like that, don't they?
Some, not as much as South Alabama though. That's one thing I miss about living down that way.
Boiled peanuts.
Boiled peanuts, yeah. So.
What is it? I don't much care for boiled peanuts, but people that like them, don't they?
I think part of it's social. You know, we have our class reunions every so often, and we always have boiled peanuts, and it's something you can stand around and munch on. And
but I mean, it's just they boil them with the shell and all.
Yeah, they have to be green. You need green peanuts, so that limits.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things. So
do they boil them anything specific?
Well, you know, you go into some stores now and you see Cajun,
right?
Cajun flavored. I'm not a fan,
you
but
just like the boiled peanut.
They're salty, a little salty,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But it's just something that's that particular part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I sold them as a kid, bicycle, you know, little bags. I think they were 10 cents a bag, and we walked all over my little hometown.
You eat the shell and all?
No, just eat the peanuts. If you eat the shell, you're probably a Yankee. So that's my guess. But anyway, but we would sell them 10 cents a bag, and you'd sell, I don't know, a big basket full every day. I mean, everybody ate them. So, you know, it's a delicacy, so to speak. So
it's a southern thing for sure.
Oh, no doubt. Especially when the further south you go, the more you see them along the road.
That's what I'm saying. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
I think some of the modern convenience stores now have them around here.
They do, but I mean, you can buy them in the gallon can. They're just not the same.
Yeah, it's just different.
That's what you see in the stores. I think probably the further you get away from September and October, the more the odds of them being canned peanuts. And I guess there's a food company somewhere that does them, but I don't really care for them that way.
What about the roasted corn? You ever eat any of it? The ears of corn? Boy,
I used to be on the Riverbend Festival board of directors, and of course Riverbend always had roasted corn.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple of firemen from somewhere, not Chattanooga, but I think they were from out of town. They came in, I think we probably hadn't had roasted corn before, and they brought a certain amount. And I think they sold out on Sunday, by Sunday after starting on Friday. And they had made so much money, they just left and didn't come back. But then, you know, every year after that, I think they've had
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff.
So with the event, tell me again how you got started in this, because this is a little unique type of business,
It's
isn't it?
very, very, I think, just doing it the way I did it anyway. But so I took $300 out of a paycheck and got a business license, and I was in business.
What did you tell them your license was for? I mean, what was
just planning meetings. Yeah, I was just going to help companies plan meetings.
Did they think that was odd when you got the?
Well, I had met with a couple of ladies at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they told me I research everything. I mean, even equipment that I bought later on, I would just study everything about it before I would buy it. But I was researching all of this, and at the time we were getting ready to build the aquarium, and I kept seeing the headlines in the paper, you know, this many conventions are coming to town because of the aquarium, this many corporate meetings, this many people, and I'm sitting there thinking, who's going to take care of these people when they get here? And so I kind of put it all together. There needed to be somebody that was independent, that didn't work for Unum or back then Provident or Blue Cross or whoever. And so I thought that person was me. And so that's kind of how I set it up to begin with. I probably didn't get anything connected to the aquarium after it was built for probably 3 years. It was more local demand. There were more local companies that needed what I was doing than people coming for the aquarium. And so padded chairs, couldn't get them anywhere. I bought them. Staging that wouldn't fall, couldn't get it pretty much anywhere, so I bought a stage. Actually, I had rented a stage, and I saw them taking it down after the event was over, and I'd had some high-profile people on it. And I thought, man, what if they had fallen? And it kind of scared me. And so I mentioned it to the guy, and he said, You don't like it, just buy you one.
Smart aleck, right?
So I did. And it worked out really well. I made a lot of money renting staging. I did a lot of different events because I had studied what kind of stage to buy. There are different kinds. And I would go to the Baylor School in their chapel. Off the stage of steps. Well, their choir director called and said, "Hey, I need something that will fit flush with that stage, but we can't do anything to the steps. Can you make that work?" And I said, "Sure." And I showed him how I could do it. Well, that was 2 rentals a year right there. And I think the rental rate on it then was maybe $1,200 each time. That staging probably cost $6,000 or $8,000 total. So, just one customer was good for a year. I probably did those events 10, 12 years, I guess. I don't know. But many other ones, same thing. Did a photo shoot at Erlanger, 5 a.m. setup. But it was pictures of doctors or residents. And they would take them every year. Well, there were so many, we had to stair step the stage, but that was the way we did it to get everybody in the picture. We didn't make the picture, we just did it for the photographer. But it was unique because I would have to set it up at 5 o'clock in the morning because the only time they could get 50 doctors together at one time was 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So did a lot of unique events with a lot of different equipment. I bought a money machine that you get inside and grab for money because there wasn't one available within probably 4 hours of Chattanooga. And it was a pretty good investment to make, but I made probably triple what it cost over time. And then when I closed, I sold it to a circus in Cincinnati, Ohio. And but it was a cool piece of equipment. I rented it, I think, for the Halloween thing in Cleveland one time. I don't remember who rented it from me, but usually when I would rent it, I would go with it and operate it. So
not only were you doing event planning, but you were also, you ended up needing equipment while you were doing it. So you bought the equipment and then you were able to rent out the equipment too.
Right. I wanted the event to happen. And if we couldn't find the equipment, sometimes it wasn't going to happen. So
how do people know how did they know how to get a hold of you?
Well, the typical ways were telephone and advertising in the yellow pages. And of course, those have kind of gone away, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, a good thing because they were so expensive and I never could gauge what I really got on that investment. But we had such a great referral base of people. Everybody that we dealt with would refer people to us. And it was because we did a good job with that customer. And somebody else would mention, needing something. They would say, "Well, call Ricky at the meeting company," or whatever. The other thing in Chattanooga, and it's probably not unique to Chattanooga, but it may be, there's such a large number of nonprofits, and they're all doing fundraising, and their board members are all kind of the same people on 10 different boards.
That's funny, isn't it?
So once you get in with one, your name's going to come up 9 other times.
If you have a nonprofit organization and you're going to have an event, you don't hardly have enough volunteers to coordinate the event.
Right.
You have some to work it, but not coordinate.
I think there's a saying out there about, 10% of the people do 90% of the work, something like that. So, and we would come in and do a lot of that work. I hired college kids. I mean, that was our source for, I said young backs and weak minds, but they needed beer money, or mom and dad wanted them to have a part-time job while they were going to college or whatever. So it was our ticket to
just part-time labor, send them 1099s at
no,
best.
well, we some of them we hired as regular employees.
So do you have a warehouse to keep this stuff in?
We did. We had a warehouse down on Gifford Street, which is going towards Central Avenue toward Erlanger, but right there off the interstate. And had a showroom. So we did a lot of weddings. Brides and moms would come in, sit down with Pam. They didn't want to talk to a guy. we did the bridal shows. We'd have a 20-foot wide booth, and I'd be standing right here, and Pam down here, and they would walk right by me. They don't want to talk to a guy. It's just not.
It's not the natural.
No. And Pam was very quiet, shy, reserved, but working with me got her to the point where she got out of that. And people love her. Everybody that meets her loves her anyway. Mm-hmm. But she was really good at helping brides with wedding planning. And we had a huge linen business in our shop. We had a laundry in the back, so we could give them whatever they wanted. Linen-wise, colors, they're all about, got to have colors. And so linens were just another piece of equipment, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But we also laundered it and made sure that it was ironed and looked good, and quality level was good.
What would happen if you had 2 events on the same night?
Oh, that was very common. We did one weekend, we had 6 weddings. And the way we were able to do them, again, here in the South, churches are done with their church mm-hmm. on Wednesday night until Sunday. So if we could get in a church on Thursday, we'd go ahead and set up our part. Mm-hmm. We usually had to be the first one in, the last one out.
Yeah.
So we'd set up on Thursday, set up on Friday, set up on Saturday morning. The problem with that is they would all end about the same time. So Pam would take a crew, I would take a crew, and we would just get as much as we could. We rarely let our equipment stay out till Monday.
So by Sunday night, it was all back in the shop.
Oh, hopefully.
Ready to reorganize.
We saw that the facilities needed us out of their way. Mm-hmm. I mean, they might want to rent Sunday to somebody else.
Yeah, or church.
Yeah. Whatever. So we tried to work with them because I saw them as a referral base also. And they eventually saw that relationship was the way it needed to be. So they would call us because they knew we would get in and out of their way. They wouldn't call a competitor because they leave their stuff till Monday. So we just outworked everybody. I mean, that was the...
Was most of your business in Chattanooga?
Oh, no. We did... our biggest project ever was opening banks in Nashville, First Tennessee.
You mean like setting up the opening day or something?
We would do the grand opening for a new... Well, let me go back a little bit. I think they only had 4 financial... They call them financial centers. They only had 4, and they were all in Kroger's. And so they were expanding into that Nashville market. Mm-hmm. They had Memphis home office, had Chattanooga, Jim Williams, Knoxville, and then Upper East Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So we had been doing customer appreciation days for the area banks here, Cleveland, Chattanooga. We just took that concept on the road to Nashville and added some things to it. But every time they built a new financial center, we would go in on Friday and do the grand opening, and then we'd go back the next day, Saturday, and do what we call Hot Dog Day, which was really a customer appreciation day here. Mm-hmm. And we would do it the following Saturday. So we would do Friday, Saturday, Saturday. And we opened 31, I think, financial centers in Nashville. So every First Tennessee or First Horizon Bank in Nashville, we've had our hands on it.
Did they mostly tell you what kind of stuff they wanted, or was you instrumental in saying, well, what's your goal? And
no, the initial planning we helped them with because we took that customer appreciation day. They came to us and said, what would work? What can we do? And so we had a cookie cutter list, basically, that would go out every time. And they wanted to buy tents, logoed tents. So we did that, helped them with that. Even though we didn't do tents, we learned how to do tents. 20 by 20 tent every time. Maybe 5 36-inch round tables with 4 chairs per table, tablecloth, a sound system with some music playing in the background. Sometimes it was so hot we would have cooling fans. A grill, gas grill, and 250 hot dogs, bags of chips, soft drinks, and cookies. And you wouldn't think of that being a real big to-do, but collectively it was over all those times.
Mm-hmm.
But then each time they would open a branch, they would go into that community and buy the sponsorship on a local festival.
Mm.
Okay, so then when that festival came along, they would have us bring in their tent and put up their tables or do whatever they wanted to do at that festival to kind of get their name out there and just keep it, keep it going. Now, one of the openings that we did, there was an older gentleman that came out, and he told me, he said, I worked at such and such a bank, which was a competitor, for 45 years. I was a vice president, retired. I've been kind of retired for 5 or 6 years now. But I'm looking at First Tennessee and seeing what they're doing. And I'm thinking about moving all my money into their stock. And I said, hang on. So I had to run in and get the manager because there was no employee out there with us at the time.
Yeah.
And so I told the manager, I said, this guy's out here, he's talking about all this. And so I gave her the information, she came out. The next week when we were there, he came back out. And hey, just want to tell you, I moved all my money over. And I'm like, great. Mm-hmm. From then on, we made sure we always had a bank employee with us out there.
Oh, yeah.
And there should have been then. They were busy. So, but financially, it came back, to help them there. So
when did you start getting, like, when you get the calls for, here, I say Usher and George W. and Barbara Bush and
well, think about
Kenny Loggins. How's all that?
It's crazy.
Glenn Fry.
I mean,
Joe Walsh.
I made that list.
Did you meet Joe Walsh?
I did not meet him, but I was, from me to you to him. I was on the Riverbend Festival board for some of those, but my job, every board member had a job then. My job was Director of Safety and Security. Well, you can imagine what that's like with high-profile people like that.
Yeah.
And so they had about 100 or 150 seats side stage. And as a board member, you would get to go one night, usually. Pick.
If you're on the board of Riverbend.
Yeah. But I was there working.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't.
You were on the board and there.
Yeah. And side stage, you can see certainly a lot better, but you couldn't hear any better because, monitors are facing backwards, speakers are facing forward. So sometimes I would just take my tickets and give them to a friend and say, y'all go sit up there. I've got access to right down front, so I could do that. And that's kind of how we did it. But that particular night, I wanted to make sure I was side stage. And of course, I was working too. So, but some of them I worked with. Vince Gill, worked with Vince for probably 10 or 15 years, once a year.
At Riverbend?
Well, the first time I worked with him was at Riverbend, but the second time I worked with him, I did a meet and greet. He was on tour, sponsored by Kraft Foods, and Red Food Store, or maybe Bilo, don't know what year it was, but anyway, Kraft sponsored. He did a meet and greet here. He was at the arena, UTC Arena, and they did the meet and greet at the Clarion Hotel. And they needed somebody to do security. And all it was pictures with each employee. And then they were all going to the concert. Well, I get a phone call, says, the police are bringing Vince over there. He's got 15 minutes. So you get them lined up, and we need to have it done in 15 minutes. And I'm thinking, 80 people, that's 80 pictures in 15 minutes. I don't know. But we got it done. And of course, Vince was smile for the camera. He never, I learned about him back then, he wouldn't look at the camera because you got red eye back then. Now,
when you looked at a camera, you get red eye?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Well, it seemed to be fairly common. So, but anyway, Vince would just smile for the picture and that was it. And not a lot of personality that night. Well, I had met him at Riverbend some years before that, and at his sound check at Riverbend, he played nothing but rock and roll music. And when he came down off the stage, I'm like, you know, that was pretty awesome. He said,
Yeah.
well, at sound check, I get to play what I want to hear. And he said, you know, obviously at the show, I'll play all of my other
Country
stuff.
music, yeah.
And then I did another event with him at the Clarion after that for a golf tournament. And the guy doing it, the coordinator of the golf tournament, said, just bring a sound system and they're just going to play a song or two. And so I get there and I'm like, okay, what does he need? And they said, I don't know, go over there and ask him. So I went over and said, hey, Vince, I'm Ricky, you know, I've got the sound system. What do you need? Well, I'm not singing. And I'm like, okay, I won't set it up. Well, they start the program and 2 or 3 minutes into it, we're going to have a couple of songs now by Vince Gill and Dan Tominski from Nashville was with him. Dan's pretty well known. Anyway, I had to run to the van. I had it backed up to the door, but I had to run and set the sound system up while they're playing the piano. And he just did it cutting up. Just, I don't know if he was playing a trick or whatever, but I've worked with Vince so much that every time it's been a little bit different.
I'm a general contractor and a cycling enthusiast. I drive a Kia Soul. They're inexpensive. They're roomy, cheap on gas, keeps my overhead low. Drive a Kia. They're no problem.
Those guys, are they real organized or are they're just
He is so laid back. There's no stress in his life. He's a picker. He loves to pick. He's probably one of the better guitar players ever. He sung on probably who knows how many other people's music and played. He works all the time. He's just always, it's all about music. But back to the photo, the meet and greet, I just noticed that he was not real happy. Something said, something's not right. Well, the next day it came out he was getting a divorce. And I guess he knew it was coming out. I don't know, but anyway.
That'll do it, won't it?
Well, I hadn't been down that road, but he just seemed to fit that he wouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
And but we got that done, and then this nonprofit fundraiser came up with Children's Advocacy Center, and Amy started. She came the first year. He came with her and some other people, and then the next year she was on a book tour and couldn't come, so he filled in for her, and that's when he learned about the nonprofit and how much they needed him, and he bought in and came every year until he signed up with the Eagles.
When you say Amy Grant?
Grant, yeah. Yeah, she's a sweetheart. And he...
Did I see her on the news here recently?
She had a bicycle wreck.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, and
Thought I
was hurt pretty bad.
Thought I was dreaming there for a minute.
Yeah. She's... now, Vince's daughter, Jenny, by his first wife, Jenny is, if you get the chance to follow her on Facebook, she's not a comedian by trade, but she's a comedian.
I can't see Vince Gill playing with the Eagles. It's just too different.
He loves it, absolutely loves it. I just saw Vince a couple of weeks ago.
Taking Glenn Fry's place, I guess?
He says you can't.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, he admits he's...
But he's good on his own. Why would he want to join them?
Just loves the music. You know, if you look at some of the YouTube videos and stuff, interviews, he'll tell you he loves their catalog, and everybody does. I mean,
he grew up in that era. I guess.
Yeah.
What about Usher? Who calls you for those?
Usher,
obviously he doesn't, right?
No. I think all of that came about through. There were so many different people involved in that video shoot. You got record companies, you got his management, you've got video people. there's, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 different organizations involved in, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm not sure who called us on that. Now, I'll tell you, on Taylor Swift, we had I don't know if you'd call it a habit, but we answered the phone on Saturdays. And we
at your
our office.
Was your office in your house or?
Well, I started out in my house, and then we bought a house in Ottawa and had a full basement, and we filled up the basement and the garage to the point I got the word from the boss, and she said, "You can't buy anything else. We don't have anywhere to put it."
Yeah.
And so then we started trying to find warehouse space, and eventually wound up at our the location we were at for about 17 years. But
On Gifford Street.
yeah.
That's next to Architectural Services.
No, it's Southland Fabrics was next door, and now there's a screen printer across the street.
I think I've been there. And
but there used to be AFCO, American Food Service Equipment, was across the street.
I think I went there to buy something for a kitchen.
It was a great location because I'm right next to the interstate.
You're right there, yeah.
So that worked out real well for us. But we had a lot of equipment. But with Taylor Swift, I answered the call on a Saturday, and it was a lady at UTC Arena, and they had given her my number and said, just call this guy and see if he can help you. And she needed some pipe and drape, which is the same equipment you see at trade shows. You know, the booth space is made out of pipe and drape.
What does that mean?
It's just pipe with drape on it.
Oh, like a voting booth or something?
Yeah, similar, a backdrop.
Yeah.
But she needed a 20-foot by 20-foot square.
And you had one?
And I had thousands of footage of that stuff in different colors. So I went over there and was setting it up, and a guy walks by. Of course, they're setting up the stage and bringing in all the equipment and everything. This guy walked by and said, "Hey, where'd you get that?" And I said, "Well, I rent it." And he said, "Well, I need that same amount down here in another room." I said, "Well, I'll have to go back and get it." So I went back and got for him, and then another guy walks by and says, "Hey, I need some of that pipe and drape on either side of the stage." And I went out and we measured how much he needed. It wound up, I did about $1,000 worth of pipe and drape. And I said, "Okay, when do you want me to come back and get it?" He said, "Well, come back at 9:45. And so I said, "Okay." So I get there at 9:30. And she had gone on late, so I got to see most of her concert, but from the back. And after it was over, she's walking down the hallway, and I pulled out my phone, and she said, "Let's get a good one." And she grabs my phone. I didn't even know who the girl was. She was 18 years old, and I had to call my nieces in California and ask them who she was.
Was she the warm-up singer at the time?
Well, she was doing what they call a one-off, which is just they had an open night and it's an open date at the arena, and she thought.
I think David Carroll mentions that now.
Yeah. So she was just starting to get really, really popular.
Was she tall then?
She was skinny. I mean, I put my hand behind her back to, do the picture, but there wasn't a back there.
Just skinny.
Just wasn't anything there.
Yeah.
The thing that impressed me most was that her mother was with her, by her side, just about all the time. And I thought that was good because I knew enough about the music business to know that there were a lot of leeches and.
Well, how many years ago has that been?
18, I don't know.
Well, she come up quick, didn't she?
Yeah, she's done.
Golly.
She's done well. She went through the country phase, and now she's into. I don't even know what kind of music you call it now. I mean, it's what it is.
It's selling.
Yeah, she's obviously pretty popular. But she was very sweet to me that night, and then later on, now that I know her, you hear things, you read things, and I'm like, she didn't say that. She didn't do that. That's just a publicist thing. And I learned about publicists with Kenny Chesney. He married Renee Zellweger on St. John, which is where we go, where I got married.
That's when he did that video of the island.
Yeah. He's spent a lot of time down there over the years. But I think it was just his publicist and hers got together and said, "Hey, let's see if we can get them together. And it worked for a little bit, but obviously
Isn't
not
he
long.
from Knoxville?
Right outside of Knoxville, yeah.
Wonder where from. I'm not sure.
Luttrell,
Luttrell. I never heard
Bean
of
Station,
it. Bean Station.
yeah, right in there, yeah.
Like a northwest.
Yeah, just right outside.
Yeah.
I mentioned a while ago that I saw Vince a few weeks ago. A friend of mine from Geneva, Charlie Monk, passed away. Charlie was known as the mayor of Music Row in Nashville, and I went to his funeral, and Vince sang. And anyway, Charlie, a few years back, we were at my high school. Our high school does a pretty unique homecoming for graduates, alumni, where 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 40-year, 50-year, 60-year classes all come back at homecoming. And Charlie was home for his class, and I was there. And he knew I lived here. His son lived in Chattanooga until just a few months ago. But we were talking, and he said, well, you know, I hired Kenny Chesney to rake leaves in my yard for $5 an hour. But he also signed Kenny to a songwriting deal before Kenny even recorded any music. And that's kind of how that started.
He must have known.
Yeah, oh yeah. He's worked with several over the years, but Randy Travis was one of his. So, but Kenny has a degree in advertising from East Tennessee State.
Is that right?
So when you look at his marketing for his concert or for his tour every year, I'm pretty sure he probably puts all that together. You know, he comes up with a concept. He's got this group called No Shoes Nation. It's all related to the beach and the islands, and he's done a lot of things, a lot of good things for the islands. So
has he kind of come up with any new albums lately? I haven't heard any.
He's constantly, you know, I call it the Jimmy Buffett model. You know, you kind of come out with a new CD and got to have a tour to, but they're not making any money selling CDs. They're making it on downloading music, but most of the money they're making now is performance. They have to go on tour. You
know, I guess that's true because you can't buy $100.29 songs and download them and then stay on the island.
You can't join the RCA thing for 99 cents and get.
No, I remember that, don't you? I always thought that was a scam, but I don't think it was.
It wasn't a scam, but they would come after you, I think, if you didn't hold up your end of the deal. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that was a long time ago. But it's you know, all these things kind of fit into a common denominator, and that was I was a multitasker. At any given time, I might have 30 to 40 events in the hopper.
Talking with them or
in some
finishing up.
It was constant. It was starting one and ending one.
What isn't that chaotic though?
Oh yeah.
I mean, constant.
The pressure. We worked on deadlines constantly, so I might have in my mind. I was notorious for waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and checklisting in my head. I got to make sure I have
the candles up or whatever.
Gaffer's tape or skirting or.
What's gaffer's tape?
It's like tape you put on the stage that doesn't. It sticks, but it won't pull off the adhesive. You just wanted to make sure you thought of every little detail. And
you were setting everything up.
Everything.
Not just planning it, but setting it up.
There are people that do what I call bits and pieces. There are staging companies that only do stages. There are sound companies that only do sound. But there are some companies that do all of it.
You were the general contractor of that business.
You could say that. You could certainly say that.
Isn't it something your daughter was Larry Swafford's, your wife, Larry Swafford's, my good friend, the general contractor's daughter, and she's married someone that's in the totally different business but does the same thing.
General contracting, yep.
You ever thought about that? It was similar to that type of business?
I'll say this, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without her. She was so good at just handling details.
Larry was good at that.
But Larry taught her that she was going to work. You know, he had them cleaning windows or sweeping up sawdust or, you know, all that stuff. So she's a worker. She's still a worker. And that's probably the main thing between the two of us that we did to be successful was we worked. And we always did what we said we were going to do when we said we would do it. And that's, I mean, that was, imagine that in the world today.
I had somebody tell me, said, Dee, you're one of the few people that just do what you say you're going to do. And that's, to me, that's not a plus, but I guess it is. I guess people, I'd rather do what I tell you I'm going to do if it kills me.
I agree.
I just can't be the guy that doesn't do what he says he.
I agree.
You know,
well,
even if I said it in a dream, I still feel like I got to live up to it some weird way.
We didn't advertise. We did some, but we didn't have to advertise.
If you do a good job at what you do, you don't have to advertise.
Right.
You might advertise to be a multi-billionaire, but not just to make a living.
Right.
You don't have to advertise.
I had probably a weakness for self-promotion. I still don't like that. It was hard for me to go out and say, hey, please mention us when you're going down your list.
Well, I guess you didn't have time, really. I mean, once you was rolling, right?
Well, I had to be careful.
I mean, at what point did you say, I can do this for a living?
Well, I always thought I could, even in the beginning. I believed that I could work it to that point.
You just had a vision for that?
Yeah, I looked at my canvas, which was Chattanooga, and I looked at my abilities and said, we don't have this, we don't have anybody doing this, we don't have anybody doing that. Nobody's got this concept. I wanted to take this thing and franchise it and sell it to people in like cities, cities of 175,000 or less. And I did have a guy call me, a local guy one time that suggested the same thing. And I met with him and I said, I've already thought about doing this, but I can't run my business and take that on. And I didn't do it. Somebody else probably could have, but I
don't know. I think a personal business like that, I don't know if you can franchise them.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you could cookie cut that sort of stuff.
It'd be difficult to do.
Because to franchise something, it has to be something cookie cutter.
Well,
right?
I kept looking at meetings. Is there anybody doing meetings? That's the most hated thing in the world is meetings. But we loved them because people would call us because they didn't want to deal with the hard parts.
Well, people that haven't done it don't know how hard it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you take even a simple, you go to a seminar for 2 days and they got, tablecloths and water at the back and coffee and donuts every morning. Somebody's got to put it out.
That's right.
You think it's the teacher's not doing it.
Right. Well,
and more stuff like that, projectors and. You could almost say set up.
Yeah.
Would that be a good word for it?
Might not be catchy enough, but yeah.
But that's what you're doing. Meeting an event planner and setup.
Yeah.
Because did you do much of the planning, or was that usually done by the secretary or assistant?
Yeah, if it was a corporate meeting, obviously that's going to be planned in-house. But we helped people execute those plans. I did a meeting for Combustion or Alston Power that bought Combustion. And the actual planner was from, I think he lived in New England, somewhere up north, but was originally from France. And he taught me a couple of things about meeting planning. One was when you're bringing in CEOs for all these top power companies across the country, you plan down to the umbrella on the bus that you're transporting them in to go from here to there in case it rains. Go buy me 40 umbrellas. And I understood it, because if it was pouring down rain, you didn't want them to get wet.
But now you got to charge for that.
Well, now I've got umbrellas for rent for the next event.
But you would have to charge for it.
Sure.
And would the people understand? Say, well, here's my bill. Well, here's what are these umbrellas for?
Right.
They'd think you're crazy.
Well, not
unless it
if
rained.
If he signed it, then it was interesting. But I just cataloged all that stuff. The next time I get in this situation, I know. And
what they call it, soup to nuts, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you ever have any famous people that you did event planning or meetings set up and they were really hands-on?
I did a balloon drop for Nightfall. You been to Nightfall before?
Where is that?
It's Friday nights downtown.
I went to that thing where they
Miller Park.
I went to that thing where they light a thing and put it in the water at night, light the candle and little boat, and they give you a little disposable boat. And I'm not sure what that is.
I might have missed that event.
I can't remember.
Nightfall's a concert.
Okay.
Friday nights.
Yeah.
Now I think they have like every motorcycle in the countryside comes down and they close off the street and they're all lined up out there. But this particular Nightfall was, they wanted a balloon drop. I think we did a star. And I didn't really do a lot of balloon work, but it was something I could do.
Yeah.
And so they had 2 light towers down there they put spotlights up on to shine down on the stage, and they wanted me to string the balloon drop on those light towers. Well, the group that was playing was called the Bare Naked Ladies, and they're world famous now. But I was going up the light tower to tie my rope on one, and one of the guys in the band said, "Hey, I'll do the other end. You won't have to go over there." Now, you would not see that happening today, probably anyway, but with that group, they're so famous now, the insurance people wouldn't let them go up climb a light tower, but the guy helped me.
Wonder which one he was, maybe.
He plays the guitar, and I used to know his name. I can't remember now, but right after that, they took off, Riverbend used to have a lot of people like that. They would sign people to come and perform, and then the next month or two after they signed them, they had a hit song. So then they would come and play Riverbend, and 80,000 people would come out, So
Oh, I see, because they'd already signed them up before the song came out.
Right. That happened with Mary McGregor, too. She was signed to play at our junior college, and then her song went to number whatever. Might have been number 1. I don't know. But I remember in the backstage, she was upset, and the guy said she's mad because she signed to play this concert for whatever when
$10.
when she's getting this much.
Yeah.
Right now because she's hot. That window's only so wide, or, you're only hot for so long, so you got to get what you can. So
most of them play out, don't they?
Yeah.
Except like Elton John or
you got to keep
Elvis.
You got to keep reinventing yourself or just being so good.
I wonder what keeps them from they just get out of touch with reality, or it was just the songwriters is what made them good, and it wasn't really their idea. They just bought the right song. It's so complicated, right? If you really knew how all of that business worked, you'd be amazed at how some singers even have one hit. But the people that write the songs they're the ones that pairing it with the right artist.
That's right.
I think, and the artist being able to duplicate that passion for the song over and over.
But the songs get pitched.
Yeah, they get pitched.
And different people turn them down, and they become hits for somebody else. And
and it may work for this artist, but not for that one.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very interesting business. And
then once they get it, nowadays they don't get money for just they have to, like you were talking, they have to go on tour
right
to make money on the tour. Wouldn't that be hard way to go. Say I gotta do one every other weekend. Play the same. Can you imagine playing the same song every other weekend for 20 years?
Just like I said about Vince, he said, I get to play what I
guess he gets tired of hear playing that same old song.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if your catalog is 5 hit songs,
And everybody wants, if the Eagles come out, they all want to hear those 10 songs.
over and over and over. Now they sprinkle in a new one every once in a while. You got to. I always thought I might want to be more in that business, you know, because coordinating events is coordinating events, so to speak. I noticed during the COVID pandemic, the event business dried up. There were no events, very few. But as it cranked back up, I'm on a Facebook group for bus drivers, entertainer buses. And it's run by a guy out of Nashville that owns entertainer buses, and they contract those buses to different tours. And I was a little bit familiar with it because we had a group to play at Riverbend one year called PM Dawn. It was a couple of hits. They had a meeting after the show backstage, and the reason for the meeting was because they were renting instruments. They were renting buses for not just them, but their entourage. All of those things go against your credit that the record companies give you. And so they were having to decide whether or not they would continue renting or to purchase their own. Pretty big business deal.
Yeah.
Well, during the pandemic, bus drivers weren't working. They went and found another job, driving a truck or whatever. So opening back up, there weren't enough bus drivers. Some musical groups couldn't go on tour because they couldn't get a bus or a driver. And even now, I think they're probably back to where they were, but just a lot of shuffling going on. And I thought, well, do I want to drive a bus? But no, that's the worst job of all, because you're up at night, the show's over, they're on the bus, you're going to Wichita.
Yeah, it's not like they go to the motel and then do they sleep on the bus, reckon?
Well, everybody but the bus driver, hopefully, but they do take them to a motel. But then the bus driver, you know, you got to fill up, you got to clean the bus, you got to change the sheets, empty the trash. You finally get to go to bed. Well, then they've got to go sound check.
Just like a pilot, they actually they might clean the bathrooms.
Right.
You know, it's not just they're not paid just to drive.
But it's interrupted sleep and rest. Now you want your bus driver to get enough rest. You don't want to tax them.
I used to go on those bus junkets where you'd meet somewhere in Chattanooga and they'd drive you to Cherokee, North Carolina, and
Do you know Lynn Coffey? He's from here in Cleveland. He used to drive for Best Way Travel in Chattanooga.
Is that I think I know who you're talking about. He used to eat at the Waffle House all the time. And Alex Kuykendall drove for him, I believe, some. Didn't he have his own bus?
I think so. Lynn, I was in the ski club in Chattanooga, and we would do ski trips to West Virginia, North Carolina, Gatlinburg. Then we'd do beach trips.
They were similar to a cruise or something. It was all inclusive. It included the bus drive and the Cokes on the. I remember they had. One time they had a KFC chicken on the bus for when.
Well, we had other things on the bus, but it was stuff that we brought.
Yeah.
But this was all before I started the company. I was involved in the ski club, and the ski club in Chattanooga belonged to a council of ski clubs, 26 others, had about 10,000 members that would do ski trips all over the world, but mostly out west and up north. And then they would do 2 conventions a year. And the conventions were in Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach. And you think, well, what does that got to do with snow skiing? Well, we were marketing the shows to ski resorts. Well, they're in the cold all winter. Where are they going to want to go?
Yes.
They want to go to the beach. So we would go there and have our convention, and I always had really good participation because it was at the beach, even though it was in the spring or in the fall. You know, it's right after the cold weather, right before the cold weather. And they would sell their resorts, their ski trips to the clubs. And we always had a theme party. So I was involved in planning those, but I actually became trip director for the ski council and taught people how to run ski trips. So I was doing that, doing Riverbend, and also planning X-ray continuing education meetings. So I put all that in the hat, and the meeting company came out of it, really. It was kind of
You almost created
a monster.
a separate business. Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. Back when I was in my maybe late 20s, I used to go out to over here on APD 40, and I'd get on this bus like at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we would drive to Anniston, Alabama on this bus and play bingo at a bingo hall, and they'd drive us back like
a junket.
It was a junket, yeah. And then later on, I got to where I was flying to Biloxi or wherever it was, and they were all inclusive type things, and there's a big market.
Somebody was planning that.
When it was a group of people that had the same sort of interest,
yeah.
And that was back before, I didn't have any money to fly or nothing like that.
When I was doing the ski trips, you planned the hotel, you planned the airlines, you planned getting the group from the airport to the hotel, you bought lift tickets, you planned nights out to eat.
Yeah, and you get maybe discounts for groups and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, they loved that business. It turned out to be millions of dollars with the ski council because, every club would run to Lake Tahoe or Breckenridge or wherever.
Do those sort of things, is it still common, or seems like I don't hear about that stuff anymore?
Well, I've aged out, so.
Or is people just not do that like they did?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's still ski trips run by clubs. I couldn't afford a broken leg or any of that, so.
But what about I hear of these, they'll have a cruise that will have a certain celebrity
theme,
on
yeah.
it, like the whole week or something.
Yeah, they're still doing those.
How would that work? How would you like to be a celebrity and going on a 4-day cruise and everybody was there to look at you?
I guess it would depend on where I was in my career.
It would be okay one time.
Well, like I said, you're only hot for so long and then you're not. And that's probably going to be toward the end of your hotness.
Why is it some people they just play out and others don't?
Right. Talent, I don't know. I went to see James Taylor 3 or 4 years ago in Chattanooga. Had never seen him.
Let's see now, James Taylor. I saw Jackson Brown.
Yeah, I've not seen him.
And it was good, but back in the day, he couldn't have had this concert there. It would have never held the people.
Right.
But now it's just the Tivoli Theater.
Right. I think that's just part of the process. You might be doing stadium shows when you're hot, but then as you start to fizzle, your venues become smaller and smaller.
And I don't know of anybody that that came out red hot, right? I mean, even Elvis played at Seed.
Yeah, probably
You know.
not. You got to start somewhere, but it's very unusual, I would say, for somebody to start out really hot.
Wouldn't it depend on even advertising them at the time? I mean, doesn't it all sort of go down to advertising? Because if nobody knows you're there,
Right. Well, advertising's different now with social media. That's really advertising. But like, look at Kane Brown. He's from Fort Oglethorpe. Lauren Elena, they were
Kane Brown, I thought he was from.
He and Lauren Elena were classmates.
I thought Kane Brown was. That's the new country music guy, right? Is that right?
He's not new. He started out YouTube, I think, and had such a following, kind of like Dee Burris.
He's been. I've got a lead on him coming here. I'm working on it.
Well, I would.
But I thought he was from East Lake.
Well, he may
I
have
guess that's sort
at
of the
some
same
point. I
thing,
think he
isn't it?
lived in Chattanooga
Yeah,
some,
okay.
but he and Lauren Elena kind of started around the same time, I think, and they've done some stuff together since. I don't know who's bigger now, but they're both pretty big.
You have to have talent and likability
And drive.
and drive and an advertising plan
Sure.
and luck.
Lot of luck. I'm not sure that the who you know
I don't think that matters. anymore.
matters a whole lot anymore, but maybe it does. I don't know.
If they told everybody I was a big singer and I was going to be at the Tivoli Theater next weekend, and nobody would come. If they did,
A
they'd
couple
leave.
of people, but
So you have to have some talent there.
yeah.
But then you go talent.
But people have to have some way to see that talent. So how does that happen?
That's right. So there's so many pieces to put together.
Well, our tagline in the beginning, and of course I haven't worn this vest a whole
Yeah.
lot, but since I retired.
Yeah.
But if you look real close, it's puzzle pieces. And on our brochures, it was putting all the pieces together. And of course, I think a mental health group uses that too. So, but I always said it was like baking a cake, that what we did was gathered the ingredients. We just had to know when to put things together to make it happen, make the event happen. So we bought some of the ingredients, and we would subcontract other parts depending on what we were doing.
And all the events were separate. Somebody might say, here's what we want to do.
Right.
It's totally different than what you'd have.
Exactly. The amazing thing that I think that we also did was we were not computerized. We would do a quote on the computer with a list of everything that we were going to supply.
Less likely to mess up, I found.
It was a quote, but it was also a loading sheet to go by. But we actually would pencil.
When you say a loading sheet, you mean like a template? You had do you have a list of all of the possible things?
Well, that list was really long for our software, but we would just itemize everything for that particular event. But we had a hand-drawn calendar in my office. I really didn't have an office. I always felt like an office was where things went to die or not get done. But I did have an area that had a paper pad and easel with a hand-drawn calendar on it for every month. And we usually kept that calendar 2 to 3 years of calendars or months in advance.
Because events,
We were
planned.
booking 1 to 2 years all the time. And a lot of them were annual events. I have what I call some legacy events in Chattanooga still going on that I started or helped start.
So you would have to, and I haven't thought about this, but you would have to agree to do an event planning for somebody a year and a half in advance and give them a price and know that you're even going to be in the business?
I'll tell you a good story about that. A food service company for a hospital booked us for an air show at the airport. And the date was
The Cleveland Airport?
Chattanooga
Oh,
Airport.
sure.
The big air show that they used to do. And I don't remember the exact date, but that Monday night before their event, I was doing an event for Blood Assurance at Rick Honeycutt Sports. And it was like the night before a golf tournament on Tuesday. Excuse me. I get a phone call. My mother had been sick, was in ICU down in Opelika, Alabama. She was on a ventilator. I had seen her on Sunday. Monday night, they called and told me she had passed. And I'm like, well, I was not happy. But I kept thinking, my schedule. And I was obligated for this air show on Friday. And my sisters, on Tuesday or Wednesday, we're thinking we're going to do visitation on Friday night, funerals on Saturday. And I'm like, I got this air show. So I called the client and said, hey, my mom's passed away. I've got to drive to South Alabama on Friday. I need to deliver an hour early on Friday. Nope.
Boy.
Can't do it. And I'm sitting there thinking, my mother's died. Do you not have any? You're not willing to help me with just an hour so I can get on the road? And they weren't. And
how could somebody be that cruel?
I
mean, who would not understand
Luckily for me, fortunately for me, I've been able to fire a few customers along the way. Have you ever fired a customer?
I haven't yet, but I've almost got it out.
I fired that customer.
That right then?
Well, no, not right then.
You got through?
Yeah. I delivered and I made it with a 15 minutes window. Run in the funeral home and change clothes in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
But I was obligated.
That goes back to that responsibility that me and you have a problem
I
with.
was probably obligated, I don't know how far in advance for that event, but months. But some events I was obligated a year and a half ahead. And it's just like a concert tour or a wedding reception. Some of these weddings are planned a year in advance. So it's hard.
Well, you don't even know if you're going to be in the
Alive.
even alive.
Yeah. Also, if we had somebody come in, I'm going to give away a little interesting point, I guess. If we had somebody come in, usually within about 3 to 5 minutes, I could tell if they were going to be difficult. And it was always, let me check the calendar. And I would walk in my little cubicle office area and look at the calendar. And even if there was nothing on that day, I was busy that day. So that was how that helped me. But I had to be able to gauge how much of an obligation I was going to be under every time I met with a customer. And some were easy to work with, and some were always starting out one way and winding up something totally.
Have you ever noticed some customers, once you sign the paper, before you sign the papers, they're real flexible, and when you sign it, there is no more flexibility?
I met with a father of a 16-year-old birthday party, and he said, I need you to help me with my daughter's 16th birthday. I want this, 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 and this, and your budget's $4,000. And it's at the Memorial Auditorium in the basement. And so I went back and started planning all the things, and I hit $4,000 pretty quick. I called him back and I said, need to talk to you about the budget. And he was like, well, I've turned everything over to my wife. Deal with her. I understand. Start dealing with the wife. She won't budge. She's like, no, he said that you were going to do all this.
Oh,
and it just went sideways. It got to the point where I said, here's the list of everything that he's asked for and that I've talked to people. Here's their phone number. I'm out. And he called me every day for a couple of weeks. And this man is on, I know, 2 different banks' board of directors. He's very successful.
He could have just as easily
Huge
said,
company.
"Ford."
Well, that was her 16th birthday. And then when she got married, I was told they spent almost $1 million on her wedding reception. And it was at the convention center. Now, I don't know if that's true because I don't know who would know, but
You just know what the budget was.
I just knew that I couldn't do it. I was at the point where I didn't work for free. So, but I had a few of those like that were tough.
But when you decided, hey, I'm going to, you said you're retired, so
Yeah.
you don't do that anymore.
I'm totally available for hire.
Well, how did you stop taking the? I mean, wouldn't you have? Because
Yeah.
in business, aren't you sort of relying on the things in the pipeline?
Yeah.
And when you stopped, did you just have a date out there in the future and said, this is when I'm going to retire, and nothing went past that date?
That's pretty much it.
What if it was a lifelong customer that you'd always done work for?
Here's
Did
another.
it go past that date?
Here's another story with that. I did a golf tournament for CBL that owns Hamilton
The
Place.
the mall.
I did a lot of their events over the years.
Larry Armour.
Not Larry, but for the marketing department, Dan Summerlin. Dan, he was probably the 3rd vice president marketing that I worked with, but I worked with him the most. And it was down to, and he told me this, he said, I love working with y'all because it's one phone call. I call you and tell you the date, and that's all I have to tell you because y'all take care of everything else. But Dan had terminal cancer, and he knew it, we knew it, and he had not been to our office before. Usually it was just a phone call. And then we would see him at the event, catch up, standing around waiting for things to happen, and because we spent the whole day with him. But Dan came down to our office, and he made it pretty clear, I'm probably not going to be here when this happens, but I don't want anybody to worry about it. Just promise me that you'll do it. And I said, well, Dan, our last day in business is April 1st or 15th, in 4 months. And he said, well, will you still do it? And I said, well, the only way we can do it is for y'all to work something out, regarding pay. And he said, well, we'll pay you. Even if it's cash money, we'll pay you to do it. Well, it wasn't cash money, but, they 1099 me. But I couldn't tell him no. The man he had terminal cancer. I wasn't going to tell him no.
He was easy to deal with. You dealt with him before.
Good to us
Good
over the
customer.
years.
That's a level of respect. I
We
guess.
were we could read each other's mind. He knew what he could count on us to do. He knew our capabilities. A great guy. Great guy.
So when was that? It was that event. How much further was that out?
I would say it was probably 6 months out, something
So
like that.
what'd you do during that time?
Well, we ended the year, I think maybe 2015, December 31st, we closed, and we spent 4 months selling inventory.
Everything you needed except for that event, maybe?
And we might have even sold it and sub-rented, used
Oh, yeah.
another event company to come in and do that stuff. Our biggest problem, our last 3 years in business, we hustled. Larry Swafford had died at 59. My dad died at 62.
What year did Larry die? I can't remember.
2000. I believe it was 2000.
Well, it seems like longer than that, but I guess that's about right.
But I told Pam, I said, we're killing ourselves. We were working 80, 90 hours a week. We were out late every weekend. And the only way we would get through that kind of a schedule, I mean, we'd go 3 weeks sometimes without a day off. I'm talking not even.
And odd hours, load up stuff at 1 o'clock at Saturday night.
We're going up the ridge cut at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And I would look over at Pam and say, St. John or Painkiller. That's a drink that they have down there. Or Kenny Chesney or some code word connected to why we were working so hard so we could take a nice vacation, which we did even when we were working. We would take a week every year and go to the Virgin Islands. And well, her rule was, we got married here, you got to take me back every year and ask for another year. And I was okay with that. But I would look over at her and say something like that. And that's what got us through those.
That was the carrot?
Yeah.
Sort of the carrot?
Yeah. Now, when it happened, it'd take you 3 days just to get your body back.
Yeah.
And then you're on vacation for 3 days, and then it's a travel day.
Right. And then your head's swimming the first 2 days you're back.
But you got to hit the ground running, because we couldn't even have a delay in flights sometimes because we had to pick something up when we got back to Chattanooga. So
did you try to sell your business?
We did. Had 12 different people look at it. That was the plan all along, was to grow it, build it, grow it, sell it, and retire right off into the sunset, But 12 people looked at it. Some pretty successful people that owned other businesses were looking at it. One guy in particular owns a really nice big restaurant in Chattanooga. And he told me his sister was interested in it, but he said, you got a great business, you got a great reputation, you got a lot of wonderful customers, great customer list, all that. She don't want to work as much as y'all do. And I was like, I can't argue with that.
And you couldn't say, oh, it's not that hard. I'm
not going to lie. It could be done. Somebody on the Facebook group the other day asked me what's one thing that you might do differently. And what I might have done differently, and maybe should have done, looking back, is just do corporate events only. Get out of the backyard weddings and the late nights. Most of the corporate stuff happens Monday through Friday.
It's less personal.
Yeah.
And a little more business. I've noticed there are a little more people in business.
A little bigger budget.
Yeah, and they're more business oriented.
Sure.
They don't get as excited.
Yeah. Probably should have done that at some point, maybe, in retrospect, but it is what it is. It was a great run. Our goal beyond that was to be debt-free. When we set it up, my pay was the same amount the first month as it was the last month. Never missed a paycheck. Was able to put money back. Debt-free. Retire. Really, I was 60. So
what else you want?
It was pretty good. I've got friends that are killing themselves today. They're still in the pits working.
And some people failed in their business. You didn't do that. So
right. I wouldn't let it fail. There was no way I was going to let it fail.
Did you have a lot of equipment that you could sell at the end that sort of?
We had
like $100,000 worth, or?
Well, we had a little bit more than that. We had about $500,000 worth of equipment, and when we started selling it, I probably should have had an auction. I saw Scott at Cleveland Tent. He had an auction once down here when he was at South Lee Highway crossing the racetrack. I think he sold everything in the building that weekend, and it did so well that I think Monday he started all over, went right back into it. But I just thought I could do better piecing it out. It was just the wrong time, and now everything that I see for sale on one of those Facebook groups is junk. And my stuff, I took good care of it.
You couldn't broker that stuff now, could you?
No.
That doesn't work really, does it?
You know, you had manufacturers. We were buying direct from manufacturers for like everything, staging, chairs, linens, whatever. But they sell direct to the public now. So you really don't have a huge advantage by buying.
You can go on Amazon and get it.
Yeah.
2 days.
If it's going to come from China, you might as well.
Did you ever do any of those blow up things for kids' birthday parties?
I did not. One reason why, I was around during what they call the transition period for those. You know, it started out, it was a bounce house.
Yeah.
And every birthday party had them. Well, unfortunately, the big kids would get in with the little kids and bounce them way high.
Bounce too high.
They land wrong, break their necks.
Ah, God. Sure enough.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So the industry had to change and make it safer. Well, how did they do that? Well, now you see a lot of these inflatables they have separations, like long runways, or they're just patterned out so that they're different from a bounce house. You don't. If you see a bounce house that's probably from way, way, way back, that's been patched multiple times or whatever, but they quit insuring anybody to kind of clear out the market. Wouldn't write liability insurance for any of them if you'd not been in the business for a while, and then came out with these new inflatables so that trying to cut down on lawsuits. But a friend of mine in Chattanooga had one of those businesses, and he literally died working on a Saturday morning from a heart attack because it's manual labor. I mean, those things roll up, they're real heavy.
Blowing them up, and probably have to have machines.
You got to haul them and set them up, and you know,
somebody stuck a ink pen in them.
Just anything you can imagine. But
That
he literally
nightmare.
worked himself. Every time I saw him, he was soaking wet with sweat. He was a little older than me, but I'm like, man, this he's working really hard. But it was always every weekend.
If you had to start out today, what business would you go in if you were 20 years old? Would you become a X-ray technician, or would you find a new need and fill it?
No, well, I've always said that I was put here to help people. If you looked at my radiology background and my event background, I was helping sick people, and then I was helping people that are sick. But but something to do with helping people, I'm sure. I've never stopped, really.
But the business you were in was very, very unique.
Yeah, I mean, I got to.
Maybe you would start these events like going to Hawaii and these trips. You know, these people go on these 10-day trips to, Sweden. And
I used to do a lot of pharmaceutical meetings. Gosh, I'm old. I was around when the projectors first came out. You know, it used to be slide projectors or overhead projectors.
You mean
Yeah. And then the LCD projectors came out. You hook to a laptop. You do PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah, I remember the PowerPoint.
So we would rent those projectors out for pharmaceutical meetings, and they would do the meetings in restaurants because that was where you could get the doctor to come, bring the nurses or whatever. And so we rented those. Some weeks we would be out 2-3 nights a week during the week. But
because that was an event?
Yeah. Well, the rental rate on those projectors was $350, $400. And so pharmaceutical companies back then, they can't do it now, but back then, they would spend thousands of dollars to wine and dine these doctors to get them to write the prescriptions for whatever illness, So that was really good. You know, we got to see the evolution of that equipment, and of course be a part of it really. But now it's gone away because it was abused, and now pharmaceuticals, they don't do any of that stuff that I don't think.
I think they just bring them lunch now.
That's about all they can do. They got the government involved with it and kind of messed it all up. But it was because there was some abuse. You know, there was golf tournaments and trips to Hawaii and. But I heard some pharmaceutical reps talking about would have a company meeting in Hawaii, but they would be in the classroom all day, and they would only get to see Hawaii after dark.
Yeah.
And they were
That'd be
like,
all right with me, wouldn't it?
well, maybe, but they were like complaining because they would only get to see, they wouldn't get to see sunset hardly. They were in a meeting. So,
How did you meet Pam?
blind date. Gina Guerin, Greg Guerin's wife.
Greg Guerin's wife, yeah.
She was a med tech at a clinic in Chattanooga where I was the chief x-ray tech. We worked together.
And you were coming from Alabama then?
I had moved to Chattanooga, and Gina came to work one Monday, and she said, I met this girl this weekend that you need to meet. She'd be good for you.
Did she not know Pam?
She had met her that Saturday. Gina's sister-in-law worked with Pam, I think at Faye Swafford. Now, Pam Swafford was not related to Faye Swafford, but she worked there.
Yeah.
And so Gina said, y'all should go out. And I said, well, she said, we'll go out, with y'all. So we had it all set up to go to Grady's on Friday night.
Back when it was at Hamilton Place?
Yeah, and but that also happened to be Gina's last work day with me. She had gotten a different job. And so we had a luncheon for her on that Friday, and she left at lunch. We thought she was going out to the car to get something. Well, she got in the car and left and never came back. And she just walked off the job. It's her last day.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'll just call this girl and see if she wants to go on anyway. Well, we didn't go to Grady's. We went Sailmaker or somewhere. I think it was Sailmaker. It's on Brainerd Road right there. There's a...
That doesn't sound right, does it? Not the
I can't remember,
Sailmaker.
but one of those restaurants.
Not the Cellar.
No, I think it was Sailmaker.
Yeah.
But anyway, we met there.
So what'd you do? Say, we're supposed to go out? There you were again,
I
trying
had
to follow
nothing to
through.
lose.
You were trying to follow through, right?
I was doing what I said I would do.
Yeah.
But the funny thing that she always points out and laughs about is that she ate everything on her plate. And that's why I asked her out the second time.
What year was that?
I think she said today, even 1987.
87.
Yeah, we were talking to somebody earlier today, and they asked us the same thing, and she said 87. So, and we dated for 11 years.
What was it like meeting Larry?
Well, I had long hair, mullet, and this was back in the moose days. Guys would have perms and disco and all that. I was moosed up.
Yeah. And the mullet, the mullet was big.
And I was going to meet them again. I was going to meet the whole family at dinner on Friday night at Grady's. Probably 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe longer. I don't remember the exact time frame, but I went and got a haircut, cleaned up, and all that. And
You get it all cut off?
Oh yeah, I mean businessman.
You were serious.
Businessman cut, But Pam said, my brother-in-law's coming, Levon. she said, I wouldn't worry about that. No, Levon didn't care. So, and once I met him and was around him, I was like,
you were the clean cut.
I was like,
then.
crap, I cut my hair off.
All for Levon.
All for this. But great family. If I've ever done anything right, it was that.
Well, she come from a great family, Marlene and Larry. I knew them well. No, I knew Larry real well.
Pam's got a twin, Tammy.
Yeah,
and Sandy.
And
And
there's one more, isn't there?
No, just the 3 girls.
Just the 3.
And then
Sandy Swafford.
Yeah, and then Marlene's mother, Grace Golden, lived in the house next to North Cleveland Church of God.
I never knew her.
She died at 99 and 2 months.
99 and 2 months.
Yeah. So Pam thinks she's probably going to live to be 100.
Good chance.
Yeah.
That works that way, doesn't it? Unless you're past it.
Yeah. Well, her great-grandmother, I think, was 93. So we're kind of working on that premise that she's probably going to live forever.
Larry used to tell me about he would go home for lunch and grab a glass of milk and put a piece of cornbread in it.
Probably.
Or grab a glass of buttermilk and put cornbread and pepper in
I did that growing up.
Yeah.
Now,
He said it settled his stomach.
probably did. Now, he had the girls buy a cabin up on the Hiwassee. A little one-bedroom cabin from David May.
The
And
daddy. David made that. They got a son.
I'm not
named-
sure.
Where was that cabin at?
It's off of,
Lamontville Road, I guess?
no, Lower River Road, right at the Meigs Bradley line.
Davis Curb, no.
Anderson
Cabin
Cabin Road.
Anderson Cabin Road.
Yeah.
Yep, you go in, you take a left, and it was literally right on the line, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's
It
right.
might have even been in the next county.
I think
was
it's
so
in,
close.
I think it's in Bradley. So
That was a dead end road, wasn't it?
yeah. Well, the plan was to build onto it.
Mhm.
It was one bedroom, but it was a real cabin. I mean, it had logs,
Yeah, probably because
In the
of the
front.
septic situation or
Yeah.
something.
and so Larry just took a handsaw or skill saw and just cut the screen and porch off the front of it, let it fall down the hill, so to speak. We had to clean it up, but then they built 2 more bedrooms onto the front, so each daughter had a bedroom. And but Larry used it for the home builders. He did a cookout or something up there, and I seems like there was 250, 300 people, and we hauled plywood. We had to go around to the marina and put plywood on the pontoon boat and bring it around and fill in the slips and make room for everybody to come. And
I think I was there.
I'm pretty sure if you were even close to the Home Builders Association, you were there. But it was hot, and it was up and down that hill. It was 53 steps up from the
Yeah.
lower part. But we were up there every weekend, and my college buddy came up from Birmingham, Jerry Davis, when we were doing the roof. And so we had to carry shingles up the ladder. And so that was on a Saturday. On Sunday morning, I lived in Tyner at the time in a duplex. And so get up on Sunday morning, I'm like, Jerry, you ready to go? We got to go back and finish that roof. He said, man, I'm out. I got to go back to Birmingham. And working for Larry was interesting because he would break for lunch, and lunch lasted until Larry was done eating lunch.
Whether it's 20 minutes
you didn't
or
get 30
30
minutes.
Yeah.
There was no guarantees. It was when he got through eating his sandwich.
Yeah.
And that was just the kind of work that the way he did it. He was a worker.
He enjoyed working. That was where he was in his element, just work.
We went to the National Home Builders Association convention. What do you call it? Convention?
Yeah, and they had like a one every year.
Yeah. It was in Atlanta. And we went down there, and they were having a nail driving contest. And I remember this guy, he hit a nail 3 times. Larry shook his head. He said, I could do that too. But he didn't do it.
Yeah.
He didn't participate, but he said, I could hit that nail in twice.
I can't believe he's been dead 22 years.
I used to ride with him every once in a while somewhere doing something, and I would see him, and he's doing this. I'm like, Larry, what are you doing? Counting 2x4s.
Is that right?
While he was driving. He just
Didn't he drive like a green truck, maybe? Was
Yep.
it green?
Ford Lariat, or
Light
80
green.
Bauer, yeah.
Was it light green?
Dark green
Dark green.
and tan.
But I had the green right, didn't
yeah, you did. Yeah,
I? Green, yeah, it's green and tan.
yeah. It was one of the higher end, nicer.
And his glasses were a little thick, weren't they?
Yeah. And his hair.
His hair was thick.
He
Yeah.
had more hair.
You know, I thought he was old then, but he was 59.
Yeah.
Here I'm nearly his age.
I say he worked himself to death, really. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but he was a worker.
But he died going out of town
Yeah.
on vacation.
I think technically he had an arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, and they just couldn't convert it, couldn't, shock him, and
Makes you wonder if he'd been stayed home working, if he'd still be living.
who knows?
You know, because he was more comfortable working.
Yeah, could be.
What's the next phase for Rickey Crook?
I'm committed to giving back. I'm trying to do things that, just help people and give back. I've been picking up trash on Hunter Road. I keep the entryway to our subdivision blown off with straw and pine cones and trash. And
Have you seen this new thing in Cleveland called the Cleveland Aid something, where all they do is have volunteers
help people?
help people to drive them places?
I did see a mention.
Empowerment. Cleveland Aid Empowerment.
I saw a mention of something similar to that. Now, I've had several little part-time jobs since I've quit. I actually worked for a nonprofit back last summer as a ramp coordinator. And what it was they needed somebody to hire contractors to build handicap ramps for homebound. And I did that, loved it. But the money ran out in 2 months.
Well, I did a couple of them, and just because the mayor called me, wanted me to do them, and you couldn't spend on them what you needed to.
No.
Because
No, they're going to cost you a good $2,000 or $3,000
well, yeah,
in
and
materials.
they had the budget was $500.
Yeah. Well, we had COVID money, but when I was hired, they didn't say this is a temporary job, which it didn't matter to me. I wanted to help. I think we probably did 12 or 15, but there was a lady, they covered 10 counties. They go from Monteagle all the way to Athens. There was a lady in South Pittsburgh, no legs. She'd been trying to get a ramp for 3 years.
That's crazy.
And her husband was a disabled veteran. He was deaf. He said he had a mortar go off next to his head in Afghanistan or somewhere.
I mean, I don't have to be a genius to figure out they need a ramp.
I was like, 3 years, how does this happen? I got her a ramp. And I had to do it. I was ready to do it out of my own pocket if I needed to. And I knew that was probably not I didn't do it that way, but.
Was that Southeast Tennessee Development District? Was they in charge of that?
No, it's a different nonprofit, Tri-State Resource. But there's such a need. That should be probably a federal program
For ramps.
Because you never know when you're going to need one. Number one, people have strokes. The idea was to keep them out of the nursing home, which is really expensive. So, how do you do that? You keep people at home, but you got to make it where they can at least go to the doctor. But if they don't have a ramp, they can't do that.
Yeah, and you can't throw up a cheap ramp because it'll settle and it'll get sideways and it'll wear you. And a real good ramp can cost $2,000 or $3,000 depending on.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to have the slope out and all.
Yeah.
Can't get too steep.
1 inch per
Yeah,
foot,
and
or
they
1 foot per inch.
And they probably changed it since we've been talking about
it. Yeah. A lot of.
They change that all the
time. A lot
time.
of ARA.
But if they just
ADA.
let you, anybody can say, well, you can get up this.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I did that job. I love doing that, helping people. I just did 45 nights of this drive-through light show for Christmas in Collegedale, just to have an event, something to do regarding events, just kind of be around it. And
Do you get bored now?
I do. I work in the yard when I can.
Is that dangerous? Does your mind get to spinning?
Probably. Probably.
You got to stay busy, don't you?
I do better when I'm busy. I was so used to juggling and multitasking.
Do you find yourself creating a problem in your mind that you got to solve?
I try not to do that, but probably, idle
hands or a devil's workshop.
Something like that. Yeah. It's just been an interesting. I look back on it. The little town I grew up in, 4,500 people. I didn't know what I was going to do. I did the medical thing because that was all I knew about as a teenager. I did pump gas before that, but that went away. But I knew I wanted to help people, and healthcare was the closest thing to meeting that. And I did that for a long time, but healthcare changed. It became more about money and less about care. I saw that working here, in Cleveland. And it was like the insurance company said they will only pay for 2 views of a hurt ankle now. And I'm like, well, I normally do 4, and a fracture only shows up on 1. So which 2 do they want me to do?
Yeah, golly.
And at that point I said, this is, the liability on this is just way out.
Yeah, they get you if you don't do 3, but they won't pay you unless you do 3.
Well, that, and you would have a patient from a car wreck come in and their blood alcohol levels, whatever, 0.2 something. Mm-hmm. And I got to take them down to x-ray and x-ray them, put them on the table and x-ray them. And then I've got to go in the darkroom and develop those films because I don't have any help. And what's going to happen to that patient while I'm gone? Well, I come back out, he's in the floor. He fractured his skull, whatever. Yeah. And so I always worried about that. And things just started adding up. And I'm over here trying to do that. And I'm looking over here at the meeting company doing pretty good. And I'm like, okay, that's the goal over there. And this is the way to get there. And I've done all I can do. So it's time to give that up. And so
but now you're through all that. And you're too young to just quit.
Well, I'm 65. Hopefully I don't look it. There are days where I feel it.
You look about 62.
Thank you. My back's not in the best shape, but it's from all the repetitive lifting and carrying and twisting and turning. I do good sitting down, driving. That's no problem. I don't do good squatting down on my knees on the floor, stocking a shelf or whatever. There are jobs I could do. I just got to figure out what I want to do.
You're too much of a thinker to waste a lot of time doing work, I think.
Yeah. I like, I'm a meticulous, detailed person, and I love working with people. I would do good, I think, maybe supervising a group of people to do something, or some responsibility involved, but not doing the actual work, the physical part of it. So
maybe responsibility is okay, but not an obligation, if that makes sense. A little difference.
I love teaching about events, and I actually did that for a little bit when we were retired. I went on the road. I did 6 or 8 cities in Alabama, just open seminars, $99, come and I'll teach you what I can in 4 hours.
On small business or event?
Whatever, yeah.
Did that go pretty good?
No, but it was Facebook. I was counting on Facebook for marketing, and it was right when they were changing we didn't have Facebook Marketplace yet. I spent a lot of money with them to advertise it in each of those areas, but I just couldn't get the contacts. I don't know if the words I was using were not.
It makes you wonder if Facebook's even doing their thing.
Yeah, there was no guarantees, and
and by the time you get used to it, they've changed the way they do it.
Right. I had probably 4 or 5 in every city. In some cities, I didn't have anybody show up, and pretty disappointing. But I had set it up in Alabama because I was familiar with Alabama, knew how to get around, knew where I was going, all that. So I just said, hey, it didn't work. Tried it, didn't work.
You tried it.
Yeah, so.
Don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. And I spent some money doing it, but not too bad. And but I enjoy helping people, teaching them about events, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be, what you could make a lot of money, nonprofit wise or fundraiser wise, that sort of thing. So there's probably some potential there to help out some different groups and stuff, but they're going to have to hunt me down. I'm not going out and seeking it.
Well, and things are just different now. Events are on Zoom and
right,
GoToMeeting and
yeah, so there's a lot of that too. And I'm old-fashioned. I still think hand-to-hand combat's the way to do business. I like meeting the customer and figuring out what they need or want and making that happen. So,
Well, I think that you're going to end up landing on something else and get busy again if you don't watch it.
well, maybe I need to. You know, I keep thinking I've got a little bank over here of helping people, and I've filled it up to a certain level, but maybe it's not full yet. You know, I don't know. But
Well, the future will certainly tell the story, but we don't want to be like Larry and die young.
no. I kid every once in a while about running for political office.
Well, that's at least it's something.
Put a real crook in office.
Yeah.
But Pam says she'll divorce me if I do that, so I guess that's out. But there's something out there.
Yeah, that'd be a good slogan, would it? Put a real crook in office.
Well,
because you are a real crook.
Yeah,
That's your last name.
Yeah.
You're not related to any crooks here, are you? Brian Crook or
No. L.A., Lower Alabama.
no?
Pretty much all my crook relatives are down
Do
there.
you go back to your hometown any much?
I love going back at homecoming. My school is so unique, and the deal there, they say, you know, nobody does homecoming like Geneva does. With all those classes coming back every year, you know, when it's your year, your 10-year increment,
Oh, you have to advise.
you're with your class. And so you get to spend time with them. I like to go when it's not my year so that I can see the juniors when I was a senior.
Sure, yeah.
Or the class ahead of
And
me.
you don't really remember, oh, was you in my class or was you in the year before or year after? You know, I get confused. You get confused on that sometimes?
I have a pretty good memory.
You had a smaller school, I guess.
Well, there were only 82 seniors in my
See,
class.
mine, there were like 2,400
Yeah.
in the whole high school, so you can't
Well,
really remember.
we were 7 through 12 at the time. Now they're 9 through 12. But
7 through 12, and how many? How many in that total?
well, there was 82 seniors in my class,
So
so there could be 600.
600, 800.
Maybe. It might be a little bigger now, but I'm going back in a couple of weeks for a meeting, but it's to do something for the school. And I have done something for the school in the past. They didn't have a stage for graduation for outdoor. They were always having to graduate in the auditorium. And so I found out they were about to buy a stage, but when I found out how much they were paying for it, I was like, hang on, I might can help you there. And I called my old supplier and worked out a deal and saved them several $1,000s. And then I went down and showed them how to put it together. And then they had a concert, had a band come in, a special program, but had a band come in, and I went back and helped them with that. And so I've gotten a little more involved with my school now that I've got time.
Maybe you can start a business renting ramps to people.
There's certainly a market, but I don't know. Got to be pretty flexible, universal.
Yeah, because some.
You know, house trailers are a big challenge. Shrubbery,
Existing sidewalks.
yeah,
Oh,
all
God.
that. So, you know, the story is the builder. So
That's why people have relatives to help on that, right?
I guess there are a lot of church groups out there that do that too, and
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to, you know, infringe on what they're doing. So
Maybe it's time, Larry, for you just to, or Rick, call you Ricky or Rick?
Ricky.
Maybe it's time to just enjoy life.
maybe so. If I could get her to hurry up and quit, she's working again, but she's 6 years younger.
So you're Mr. Mom.
I am. Man, I can do the laundry well, we did laundry at the shop, but it was tablecloths, but I can get a spot out of a grease spot out of a shirt. Yeah, I do a lot of housework and keep the yard. When we bought our house, she gave me the yard. You do that, and I'm, I got the kitchen.
Don't have to. You're the yard boy now.
I am that. I've got a big project I would love to get done this year. So, we got a ravine in the back that I've been working on for 2 or 3 years. So, a lot of that. But I'm doing okay. I'll be all right.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call. Now, one thing I gotta ask is, you met the Fonz, right?
I did meet
Henry
the Fonz.
Winkler.
I did. He was at the World of Wheels, and the guy that does that show, Sonny, can't think of his last name. He's from Birmingham.
Is he in charge of the World of Wheels?
That's his show.
Oh.
He hired us. We would, every year, December, we'd start getting these phone calls for stanchions and rope. And we had velvet ropes and chrome stanchions. And it was to put around these cars in this car show. Well, finally, he found out where everybody was going to get those. And he called me. He said, hey, I need some pipe and drape. We've had a fire in our shop and burned ours. And I need you to do some pipe and drape for us for our show. And I'm like, okay. So that's how we got in the door with them. And it just happened to be the year that he had hired Henry Winkler to come in and do his thing. And I met him with Chip Chapman from Channel 12. Chip's a friend of mine. And he signed a picture, Rickey, great to meet you. And we talked a little bit. He's been to Chattanooga, I would say, maybe 10 times.
As the Fonz?
Well, he comes in as Henry.
As an actor?
He's dyslexic, so he raises money for the dyslexia. I'm sure he's got plenty of money because he's still acting.
Yeah.
But no telling what he made off of Happy Days. Because it's still running.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's getting some residual income from that.
I used to watch it all the time.
So, but he'll sign a picture for you for $20 that he turns around and donates to.
Oh, I see.
All that. But I was working and he was there, and that's a little different. I worked with a lot of people. We had Danielle from American Pickers. She was at that same show, I think. Well,
he gets a lot of people.
It's timing. It's the first week in January. Everybody's holidayed out, and the weather's bad, and all that. So, but it's a good show. It's always different.
He always has. Last time he had Jimmy. Didn't he have Jimmy Walker in there?
This past time, yeah. And I think Jimmy's been there before too. I used to do all the expos for the newspaper, the She Expo, the Life Expo, the Kids Expo. Met Betty White, Paula Dean. Paula Dean packed the place out. I mean, we had people wrapped around the interior of the building and out the door and the outside. She drew so many people. Betty White pinched me on my butt. I got a picture. I don't know if you've seen my Facebook page, but there's a picture of me making a face. But I'm like, did you just pinch me on my? And she just went right on like it never happened. Just all kinds of people that I was able to work with, and Miss Kay from Duck Dynasty. We did the green.
Was she here by herself?
Yeah, we did the green room, where they hang out before the show, and I thought, well, this would be. She's probably seen her share of camo, but we're going to do the tablecloth in camo. And so later on, I said, well, we're the ones that did the camo tablecloth in the green. Oh, I just love camo. It's my favorite color. I'm like, is camo a color?
Are these people that you see, are they pretty well just normal?
Some of them are. I've had people ask me, who's the nicest that you've ever worked with? Well, Richard Petty. I did an event at a warehouse in Lookout Valley. General Mills owned a warehouse, huge warehouse. And they had tasked their employees to put 1 million Matchbox cars inside cereal boxes in a month. And if they got that done, they were going to get lunch with Richard Petty. And they did it. And I got hired to do some equipment stuff. And so Richard came in, had his wife Linda with him. She had hurt her foot having a stress test the day before, walking on a treadmill. So she didn't want to go on the tour of the warehouse. So she sat with me for 3 hours and we talked about stuff.
They're just normal people.
Just normal people. But Richard came back. He did his 3-minute speech about teamwork. Mm-hmm. When y'all get done with your barbecue, they had what they call a show car there. It's a replica, but a regular race car.
Yeah.
He said, when y'all get through your lunch, just line up over there at the show car and I'll come over and we'll have your picture made with each and every one of you. So I'm over there with the photographer and there's a policeman there doing security, even though the warehouse building and everything was chain link fence with wire, not razor wire, but wire across the top. So Richard's over there and all these employees are getting their picture made and everything, and he's got his dark glasses on and his hat, typical.
Yeah.
He's about 6, I think he's maybe 6'6".
That tall.
He's pretty tall. And so the photographer's standing there, and I've got my video camera. I'm just holding it running. And the photographer says, well, Richard, we've made your picture with everybody here but the police officer doing security. And Richard says, he turns around to that show car and he puts his hand there and there, turns his head around like, well, tell him to come on. And I've got that on video. Yeah. It's something nobody else in the world has. I just can't find it.
Oh, you can't find it?
I showed it to my mother because I knew she loved Richard Petty, and I don't know if I left it at her house or... What is it about Richard Petty? Everybody's mother likes him. I don't know. Probably those dark glasses. I guess. But the whole time I never saw him take them off. Never. So, but he is a super, super guy. But I'll never forget that as long as I live. Just was the Fonz, was he friendly? Oh, yeah. Yeah, very friendly. Vince is really friendly. The World of Wheels, is it just Chattanooga? Birmingham and Chattanooga is the only 2 shows he does. He does 2 shows? Yeah. What makes that guy so special doing those? Well, he's been there at the Chattanooga Convention Center since day one, or maybe even before that. So that's all he does? Yeah. Well, you get a key sponsor like O'Reilly, and when we were doing the shows for the newspaper, they were renting all the equipment to make that show from us. Mm-hmm. And we would be charging them $60, $70 a booth, and maybe a little more for a table and tablecloth and 2 chairs. Less than $100 per booth. There'd be 250, 300 booths. They were having their salespeople go out and sell those booths for $1,000. So they were making $300,000 right off of that. They paid Paula Dean, I think it was $150,000 to come for 3 hours. Golly. And they tried to get her to either come 2 days or split up the 3 hour. Anyway, and it was like another $75,000 if they did it that way. Golly, she was in it for the money, wasn't she? She was hot at that time. She's not now, she was then. But I remember at Riverbend, they tried to hire Garth Brooks, and it was $250,000 for a 90-minute show. Were they thinking about it? Well, they tried it, but when they heard the price, they said, "No, we can't do that." Vince came and played for $25,000 and a round of golf at the honors course because he loves to play golf. Wouldn't it be something if you thought, well, I'm getting 25, but Vince Gill would get 250? That'd be hard to. You'd have to. But see, they know. I mean, Garth was. Now they'd pay more to see Vince than they would him, maybe. I don't know. Garth's still doing a real big tour right now, I think. So he's pretty big. But did anybody ever ask you in the event planning to have security? Yeah, we've had to have security. I had Whitney Houston come to a cheerleader competition that we started that's still going on. But she came to see Bobby Christina was a 13-year-old cheerleader. And somebody called and said she's coming, just letting y'all know. But you probably won't know it unless you're just watching for her. And I saw her, but she came in with no security. I mean, we had security there anyway, but you never know.
Did people know she was there?
I think some of the people on the moms of some of the cheerleaders on that particular team, but she had on a scarf and glasses, and you know, unless you just were in the mindset of, is there anybody famous here, you probably wouldn't think anything about it.
So if you had to provide security, how would you get security there?
I would usually hire Chattanooga, depending on the facility. That's how it works in Chattanooga. If it's a county facility, the county sheriff's department does it.
So you'd have to call and hire rent-a-cops, as they say?
Yeah, basically. Well, you know, they make more money working second jobs than they do their real jobs. So, but yeah, I had a Chattanooga police officer as part of a group that worked for me write me a parking ticket downtown on a different event because I was illegally parked, but I was there picking up tables at Big River Grill, and he didn't care. He wrote me a ticket, $75 ticket.
Did you get out of it?
I just put it on the invoice and let the paper pay for it. I mean, I was working for them, so I had to.
Have you had any connections with Barack Obama?
I did. He's on the list. He was at Amazon, and I did tables and chairs for the media area when he was there, and we did something else, maybe some pop and drape, something like that. I've done 3 or 4 presidents. I've done 4 presidents. Obama, both the Bushes, and Biden have been at events that I've done. Obama was at Amazon. George Herbert Walker Bush, first Bush #1, 40, whatever, threw out the first pitch at AT&T was Bell South Park. Lookouts. After that, he was at Corker's house, Senator Corker's house, and I did a stage and a sound system there in Corker's backyard. And then George W. Bush came to Erlanger, and we did a tent for the limo, and we did pipe and drape down the hallways for him to get to radiology. I'll never forget, they were working that morning, and they've got Blackford Street closed off. That's the street that goes to the ER. Both ends are blocked off, Secret Service on the roof of the health department, police here and there, and they've gone into lockdown mode, which is kind of where things get a little more secure and more tense. And I'm out working. They need some sandbags to keep some pipe and drape from falling over. One of the rules is they don't want the president seen when he first gets out of the limousine. That's the first opportunity point for being shot or whatever. So I'm out there working, and I have to walk down to one end to get sandbags. And I look up the street, and I see Pam walking out from the door of the hospital. And none of these Secret Service people have any idea who she is. And I'm like, she's going to get shot, you know. And I teased her about it later on because she probably shouldn't have done that, but she didn't know. But it's one of those things that flies through your mind. But he came to Erlanger and went up to radiology, and actually it was a piece of new equipment for stroke patients for them to suck the clots out when you have a stroke. And he actually signed the machine, autographed it. But then later on, he went from there to the convention center, and we were setting up the home show. I believe it was the home show. And so we had been in there the day before when the Secret Service came in to kind of go over everything. And he was spoke in a different area from the home show, but we had to get everybody out of there, and they actually pulled the limo inside the building so that he could get in and out. And then the next day, after it was all over, it was reported that he went to Porker's barbecue and
remember
ate
that, yeah.
after it. And like security was so relaxed, they just locked the door and said, "Y'all are having lunch
Yeah.
with the president." And that's how it went down. But the Secret Service guy came in the home show the next day and said, "Do you do every event in town?" And I was like, "Well,
Just most of them.
I do a lot of
Yeah.
them." So, and that was probably true about that time. I did do a lot of them, but Biden came and did the Fallen Five Memorial that they did at the arena. I had not been involved in that event, but I got a call on Friday night. I was, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and phone rang and I answered it, and they were like, "We've got some protocol people here from the Armed Services and the White House, and they're asking for stuff we don't know what it is. Can you help them?" And I said, "Well, take me 30 minutes to get down there." So I go down there, and there's an issue with the flag. The crown of the flag has to have certain emblems on it. Sometimes it's a gold eagle. And the fringe on the flags, some flags are indoor flags, some doors are outdoor flags. And so they were having trouble finding the right kind of flags. And of course, I had what they needed.
Golly.
You just learn all of that stuff. So Biden was at that. He was also, I used to do the 1AA or FCS National Championship football game, which was a big to-do in Chattanooga because it was always the end of December and it would fill up the hotels, and
Yeah.
it was good for the city, and a lot of times the game would be sold out and that sort of thing. So I did all the events surrounding that game, everything in the First Tennessee Pavilion. I even shot confetti after the game was over for the winning team. We did fog machines.
Golly.
Not Vince, but Trace Adkins came and sang the national anthem one time. So I was around all
It
kinds
had
of.
its own rewards, didn't it? Meeting these people, seeing it. Like
Eventually, it just wasn't a reward, but you still wanted to be part of it, So you were the straw that stirred the drink.
Or the not the dog that wags the tail, but
Kind of.
really the behind the scenes person. They couldn't have it.
We were never promoting ourselves. We were always in the background. And I liked it that way. It worked. It became, what it is. Nobody else from Geneva, Alabama has done
I never thought
that.
of what you did. I never thought about that as being so important and so complicated. You think that somebody's secretary's putting it together, but it's just too much.
Yeah. I like to equate it to my medical training. That's stressful.
Yeah.
I had to x-ray an 8-year-old's arm once. I was telling this story the other night because we were talking about PTSD. I had to x-ray this arm. The ER doc said, "Okay, when they get here with the patient, the child has fallen on a railroad track.
Yeah.
And we need to x-ray the arm first and then the patient and see if we can reattach. Lab, I need you to do all the whatever lab work," and so forth and so on. I literally had to carry this arm in, surgical towels, but take it and x-ray it. And then come back, and I'll never forget his face. I still today wonder how he's doing, what happened to him. We were not able to reattach. It was going to be like an 18-hour surgery. But I think about that kid a lot. I always thought I'd write a letter to Oprah and see if she could reunite us or something, but I didn't do it. I was busy and didn't happen. And of course, today that kid would be 50 years old, 40, I don't know. But that's stressful.
Yeah, I'm stressed
gunshot,
now. I wasn't even there.
Gunshot wound to the between the eyes is pretty stressful. You get the worst patient, they want the best x-rays. You have a patient come in on a stretcher from a motorcycle wreck and his toes are pointed down, but his face is facing up. They want the best x-rays. So we had to do that. I did it here, everywhere I went. I did trauma. I did ER.
You were the guy that holds this stuff together that nobody sees.
You just, it's responsibility. And looking back to high school, I was chosen by my fellow students as most dependable.
What was your dad like?
My dad was smart, the smartest man I think I've ever known, but he was in the aircraft business. He worked at Fort Rucker, worked on helicopters, but he was a supervisor and manager, and eventually became an educator. He taught at the aviation college in Mobile. That's where he retired from. But he was the electronics. He made me a siren for my bicycle. He used to have all these baby food jars with cathodes and diodes and anodes and, you know, all the, they had little different colored rings on them, you know, but he knew what they were and what they were for, and electronics, diodes,
like,
all of that. So, but he made me a siren for my bicycle, so he was pretty cool. He wasn't around for us playing sports. He was always at work or just got home from work or all of that. But I had 2 older brothers, younger brother, and 3 sisters. There were 7 of us. 7 of us. So there was always something going on. My brother, just older than me, Billy, had open heart surgery at UAB when he was 14 years old. And I was 8 or 9. And going up there, I always said I'd go to college there. And that's where I went. He had open heart surgery, was one of the first pediatric heart surgeries ever at that hospital. He went exactly 20 years. He called me. He was living in Kansas, worked at a nuclear plant. My feet are swollen. My legs are swollen. I can't wear shoes. Can't walk more than 10 feet without getting short of breath. Something's going on. You know, see if you can get me in to see my doctor at UAB. And I was like, I'll take care of it. So I called his pediatric cardiologist, and they were obviously, you know, we don't see adults, but here's a referral. Set him up. Met him at the hotel on Sunday night before he was supposed to be there Monday. I'm like, no, we're going now. He was retaining fluid. He's ballooned up. Valve was bad. He had to have a valve replacement. They gave him blood. 1986, they did not routinely test blood for hepatitis C, and that's what killed him.
Is that
And
right?
he was 50. He lived to be 50.
So it wasn't the heart, it was the hepatitis.
Yeah.
A lot of people got that back then, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, if you got blood, you probably did get it.
They didn't test the blood for that.
No, they do now. Youngest brothers, aviation, just like Daddy. He went to school where Daddy taught. I've got a sister that's a chemical engineer that's retired from Hewlett-Packard in San Diego. Another sister that lives near Auburn, Alabama.
All educated.
Well, and my oldest sister lives outside of Washington, D.C. in Virginia. I think her degree is in archaeology, although she's never worked in archaeology, I don't believe. I'm not sure about her, but only my brother that was in the service, and he went to Troy briefly, but I was the first one to go and finish, and then along came all the others kind of behind me. And
Y'all all go to the same high school there?
we all went to the same high school except the youngest brother and my sister that just younger than me. I graduated in 76, and Daddy was already teaching in Mobile by then. So the younger brother and sister moved to Mobile. And my sister was a junior, but she was also valedictorian when she graduated, and scholarship to South Alabama, and then went to Alabama, got her master's degree, and her husband's a chemical engineer and went back to medical school. He's a doctor. They've done well.
You all get together at Thanksgiving, or do you have to separate?
We're so far apart, it's hard for 2 of us to get together. And if 3 of us get together, a fight breaks out. So,
Why is that?
it's just, I don't know. It's just the way it is. It's just
Politics or sports or something, right?
jealousy. I don't
Or
know.
who knows?
I don't know. I wish it was different.
Maybe
but
just tension.
I don't know. We sure did our share growing up. So, but it is what it is. We just kind of pair off and talk, and that's just the way it works. How's so and so doing? Well,
Yeah.
call Kim. She
Yeah.
knows. So it's it's crazy, but it's what it is.
Just life, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's been fun so far. I mean, I've loved everything that I've ever done, and survived this long.
Well, you seem in good health and in good spirits and well balanced.
I've tried. I think I was influenced a lot growing up by being in student government. I wanted to be the
You mean like 11th and 12th grade?
well, I was actually in the 7th. I was
Oh.
class representative until the 9th, and then I was secretary treasurer, and then they only gave one scholarship at my high school when I graduated, and it was a leadership scholarship to Troy. And I didn't get that, and so I didn't think I'd be able to go to college. But some friends of mine said, well, just go to Enterprise and do something, just go to the junior college. Tuition was $67.50. And so I did that, and the junior college system in Alabama at the time had what they call a linkage program to UAB, where you paid junior college tuition at UAB with the idea that you would go back to a small town or to another small town. And that was to help, job-wise with some of these places were having trouble getting trained people. And so I didn't go back to my hometown. The guy that was at the hospital there where I worked, he wasn't leaving, so I went to another small town. You didn't have to. I could have stayed in Birmingham, but I didn't want to do that. I wasn't real big on working at large hospitals. I could have worked at Erlanger, but to me that was herding cattle. I like to get to know the patient a little bit, so.
That's one reason you got out of it, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, the continuing education requirement came along, so you had to get so many hours a year, and I worked 3 nights a week, and there just wasn't a lot of opportunities, so it became harder and harder for me to get my hours. And I finally just said, I got this thing going over here, and once I start that, I'm probably not ever going back. And I did my last x-rays in 1999. If I went back today, I would be totally lost, other than anatomy and positioning. I know how to do that. But equipment-wise, I started out when IV fluids were in glass bottles.
Like on MASH.
Yeah, they really were.
Did you ever do those DEXA scans, where they x-ray the bone, the thickness of your bones and stuff? I mean, when you're on those x-rays, doesn't it have something to do with how high the table is? And
sometimes, yeah.
I mean, you could be this much lower,
right, and
it have a whole different reading.
Yeah, for that particular.
I mean, that only makes sense to me.
It's a very technical and very interesting.
Seemed like there'd be a lot of room for error with x-rays.
Oh yeah, I mean, sometimes people, the thickness of the body.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's hard.
I may be off the table more.
Hard to penetrate.
Somebody may be wearing blue jeans, and somebody else may be wearing a silk pants.
Well, one of the good things about me getting out when I did was, now there's so much body jewelry. Back then.
Oh, you mean like
yeah. Back then.
Plates and stuff?
Well, I'm talking about piercings. But back when I was doing it, if somebody came in from a car wreck and they had on a C-collar, and we had to x-ray them before you took that collar off to make sure their neck wasn't broken. We had to do that first, make sure they're stable. but you'd have to take their necklace off or take their earrings out because it would be right in the way of the
Yeah.
spine. Well, now with everything else that's getting pierced, I wouldn't want to be that person. I mean, hopefully the nurses are doing that or whatever, but it's just something else to have to worry about and get out of the way and
Right.
all that. And
Ah.
it's just changed. You know, I did x-ray a guy over here one time, and I went in the darkroom to develop the film, and I came out and I put the film up on the view box, and I'm like, he's got something in his shirt pocket, but I thought he just had on a t-shirt. So I go walking back in the room, and before I could even say anything, he was like, I forgot to show you that I've got a nipple ring.
Why would you think about that, right?
You know, that was just starting to become a thing. So I'm just glad I don't have to do that. You know, that's just too much.
That's one thing about getting over with a certain occupation. You don't have to worry about the negatives of it.
Right, right. I loved the technically, you know, figuring out things, the challenges of that, you know. You really had to know what you're doing, but I enjoyed that part, but I just segued that to something else, you know, like figuring out sound or.
Well, that's what you're going to have to do in the future is figure out something else you can do to stay busy.
Yeah.
Because you're not the kind of guy that's just going to just rake leaves and blow off the subdivision sign.
I hope not. This has been a blast.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Absolutely.